What's up, Insomniacs? It's Bruce, the coolest nerd you know. And today's episode of R.A.I.L.E.D, we're going to let the map take us where we need to go, figuratively and literally. So let's just get started right now. By the way, if you like this video, make sure you salt and abuse that thumbs up. The first map I want to bring up is McDonald's. This map shows how McDonald's is distributed amongst countries around the world. Places where there's hunger, it's usually not a McDonald's. I know some of these countries, it says 25 cents a day to feed a kid. And at McDonald's, you're not getting a straw for 25 cents. So maybe that has something to do with it. Moving on, since I was talking about those countries in Africa, the map that you normally see when you're looking at a map of the world is a standard Mercator projection, but check this out. It's really distorted and skewed. So since we're talking about Africa, I'm gonna show you just how big Africa really is. You can take all of these countries, United States, China, Eastern Europe, UK, and you could actually put these countries inside of Africa. That's how big Africa really is. It's really crazy. I think most of these people in Africa don't even have a McDonald's there. So I mean, I guess what do they do all day instead of getting fat like us? I'm sure they have all kinds of games, including sports. So check this map out that shows the most popular sports in each country. Of course, Americans love American football, whereas football, which Americans call soccer for some reason, dominates most of the world. And I always wonder why Americans haven't taken to soccer as much. But then I think, well, football, I'm sorry, why Americans haven't taken to football as much, or soccer as we call it here. I'm guessing the scores. I mean, I guess we don't like low scoring games. We're so fat and greedy that we want high scores in our games. I don't know, but I did find it funny that Australia, which has snakes and bugs and stuff that will kill you, their favorite sport is cricket. I found that a bit interesting. So speaking of Australia, the squarish area here in the middle of Australia is where 2% of the entire population lives. The other 98% live outside of this area. Australia's not that habitable. Of course, there's like 30 different snakes, jellyfish, spiders, and sharks and everything else that'll kill you, but it's also a desert. Like 40% of the country is a desert, so most people don't even live in the center of the country or continent anyways. But when I was thinking of Australia, I started thinking about how I remember in school I was told that years ago England used to send their prisoners to Australia, and it made me think of the prisons. And then I looked at this map that showed the most prisoners in the country. Ooh, America, we have over 600 people in prison per 100,000 people. We're definitely leading the world in people in prison, so that didn't put me in a good mood. So I moved on to something cool and random about the US. Someone took this map and took the United States and placed it over the moon to show relative size of the moon to one of our countries. It's kind of a cool projection to see that the moon is not really that big. Kind of takes the thunder a little bit away from the moon by seeing the United States superimposed on top of it that way. It lets you know how small the moon really is and how many people could actually populate the moon if we just sent people there. So speaking of population, this map kind of blows my mind. Within the circle that you see on this map, as the caption says, more people live inside this circle than live outside of it in the entire world. Kind of crazy that many people live right there, just all on top of each other. But interesting enough, some of those countries actually block adult entertainment sites. Probably more people because they have to do the real thing and they can't log on to it. Anyway, speaking of entertainment and brands and whatnot, I was looking at this map of the United States. Sorry, I'm talking about United States so much. I'm gonna do live here. This map actually shows the biggest brands come out of each state. I do find it funny that in the middle of the country, Garmin was actually formed. Guess people were getting lost so much they just invented the Garmin out there. That's kind of crazy. But then surrounding that, beer companies, hunting supplies, and motels and hotels, which does make a lot of sense when you're driving in the middle of nowhere. I kind of ran across this that showed that in those western states there's more drug overdoses than anywhere else. What do you think? A little random, I know, but I just ran across it and thought I'd share it here, so moving on. Staying out west, you ever notice Hollywood movies that usually when someone's in a different country, they're driving cars and they're usually on the left side of the road? And so maybe most people are under the impression that most other countries in America drive on the left side of the road. You'd be wrong. The world actually drives on the right side of the road like we do here in America. So it means a lot of these movies are just filmed in the few countries that drive on the left side of the road. So most of those countries are driving on the right side of the road to get to McDonald's, to get fat, put on inches and pounds. Speaking of which, with inches and pounds, the United States jumps in the minority on this one. United States, Liberia, and Myanmar are the only 3 countries left in the entire world that don't use the metric system. Kind of strange, and that always kind of irritates me a little bit, because, you know, if I say something like, oh well, the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, then someone from another country could be like, oh yeah, that is crazy that the speed of light is 299 kilometers per second. That is interesting. And I know when I normally read stuff that's in kilometers, sometimes it takes me a second to go ahead and try to convert it back to miles or centimeters, yards, to meter, to feet, all of it. We might as well just get on board. I know it'll cost billions of dollars for us to go ahead and convert to it. Spending billions of dollars on everything else, we might as well do it. I mean, with only 3 countries, seems like our government would eventually switch over to it. They don't want to spend the billions of dollars on that, even though we spend billions of dollars on everything else. But speaking of government and money, who would you think would be the highest paid government employee? Teachers, police officers, senators, president? No, highest paid government employees in the United States, in each state, other than 10 states, basketball and football coaches. Those are highest paid government employees in the United States. Their message here? Probably so. There are a few surgeons at some med schools and a couple of deans at some schools that are the highest paid government employee in their state, but it's mainly football coaches across the country. So with McDonald's and football going strong, go USA. If you like any or all of this video, make sure you assault and abuse that thumbs up, that like button, get this video out here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my other channel by clicking anywhere in this box. As always, I'm Bruce, the coolest nerd you know.